welcome to Rave in Review, where we rave about and review any and all things pop culture and anything that interests us. I'm Kaya, and you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at kaya.r.pennington. My lovely co-host Bree, though not here, you can follow on Instagram and Twitter at BreeNavette26, and you can follow Rave in Review on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Rave_and_review. Before we get into it, be sure to like, follow, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share. Guys, sharing helps us out so much. Engaging with our content, leaving likes, leaving comments, all of that helps us out so much. And not just on here, not just engaging on here, but on our Anchor, on our Spotify, on our Apple Podcasts, on our own personal socials, on the Rave in Review socials. All of that helps so much. So help us be our best selves by bringing us to a wider audience by sharing with all of your friends and family and engaging with our content. It helps us out a lot, and we really appreciate it. And with that, let's get into our first segment, Twitter Conversations, where we discuss trending threads on Twitter. Now, this one is kind of like an in-between because I've seen it both on TikTok and on Twitter. But let's talk about housewives, the housewife, the person who wants to be the housewife, or the homebody, the person who just wants to be the home. And before I get too far into it, look, I am not judging if that's the life you want. I'm not judging that. That is not what I'm judging. What I am judging are those that think it's some get out of jail free card as opposed to a regular 9-to-5. Now, I saw this particular video that aggravated me, that kind of sparked me to wanting to talk about this. It was a woman, a black woman no less, and the caption read, "I hate that women fought so hard for our rights, because I would love nothing more than to be a housewife and to serve my husband a stiff one at 5. Are you serious? Are you for real? Are you for real? Let's break this down, because for you as a woman, as a black woman, to fix your mouth to say something like that, to fix your fingers to type something like that, the girlies back in the day, they were getting beat for salty meatloaf. So that's what you want? That is what you want? And not to say abuse goes out with a decade, because it doesn't, but I'm thinking back then it was a lot more legal than it is now. I think when a homegirl snipped her husband is when they really started talking about spousal rape, because I don't know around that time with that case, but back in the day it was pretty much legal to sexually assault your spouse and get away with it because they were your spouse. That's what you want? That is the life that you want? For real? And let's break it down, because as a black woman or even a person of color, that probably was not our reality anyway, because in addition to fixing that stiff one for your husband at 5 and having dinner on the table by 6, you were most likely in somebody else's house doing that same thing full-time, if not part-time, because your spouse was not bringing home sufficient funds because of they probably were being paid severely under minimum wage due to the oppression at the time. So you were probably doing that anyway, plus some more, because that was never our reality. And for me personally, it aggravates me so bad, because I really cannot stand those people that are like, I was born in the wrong generation. What generation do you want to go back to? Segregation? That's what you want? Again, there are a lot of people who say that integration wasn't the answer, but that's the segregation that you want? For real? For real? The girlies were getting beat for salty meatloaf. Like, that's what you want? That's it? Let's be for here. That was never our reality. And for you, y'all know I'm not a feminist. I don't subscribe to white feminism at that anyway. But this touched something so deep in me, because for you to fix your mouth to say something like that, be for real. Be so for real. But my thing is, let's stop this romanticization that is some get out of jail free easier than a regular 9-to-5, because I'd argue, 1, that it's one of the hardest 9-to-5s, and 2, that you work in at least 3 or 4 9-to-5 jobs. It's not easy. Well, Kaya, what would you know about it? You're not a housewife. No, I am not. But given my living situation, I do most of that stuff anyway, because I'm trying to be nice and help out, and it's not easy. Cooking and cleaning for folk every day, all day, is not easy. Doing meal prep is not easy, especially with my folk. Now, no disrespect, fam, but for my folk, the indecisions, Hey, what do you want to eat? I don't know. Whatever. Oh, you choose. Whatever. I don't care. Now, look, if I cook something and then you don't eat it because you didn't want it, but I slaved over an oven or over a stove for a few hours to make it, but you don't eat it because you didn't want it, but you didn't tell me what you wanted, I'm going to be upset. And that happens sometimes. And so that's going to make you upset. Sometimes you don't always get a thank you, and that's going to make you upset one day. And for me, I go to school, so I come home and do this kind of stuff. So let's say you have a little side business. Let's say you like to do hair. So you do hair as a side business at home. You don't have to, but it's just something you enjoy. So you do it at home. There are going to be times where those two worlds collide and you're not going to get everything done on time, and it's going to frustrate you, and you can't even leave that frustration at the office because you're at home. Like that mini panic that happens when you realize you forgot to meal prep, and now you have to come up with a dinner plan in the hour before these people get home. It's not easy. Cleaning after folk all day, every day is not easy. And then y'all want to add children into the mix. Let's say you have the standard patriarchal 2 kids and a spouse. That's not easy. Okay, what would you know about it? You don't have kids? No, I don't have kids, and no, I don't want kids, but I do have somebody that I have to clean up after regularly, and it's kind of frustrating. As soon as you get done cleaning, there's always another mess. It's not easy. So that's my issue with it. Like, stop making it like this is some easier than 9 to 5. Like, you're the cook, you're the maid, you're the housekeeper, you're the janitor. Like, that's 3 9 to 5s, and you're just not getting paid a regular 9 to 5. And I've said for me, when we were talking about our alpha males and rant or whatever, that for me personally, I just can't not have something of my own. I'm assuming the situation is, you don't have to work because they work and they give you money whenever you need it. But for me, as opposed to waiting to ask you, hey, I need this, so give me some money, I could just have my own and just go do it anyway. That's just me. So you're not even getting paid like a regular 9 to 5 situation. But it's still not easy. You're still working like 9 to 5 jobs. And then one of the last things that I'll say on this as to why it irked me so much is because I hate that women fought so hard for our rights, as if the fight is over. The fight's not over. And that mediocre job that you're complaining about, you're still getting underpaid, whereas your male counterpart, who probably is doing more mediocre work than you, is getting paid more than you just because he's a man. And you had to fix your fingers to type that mess. Be for real. Be so for real. Look, if that's the life you want, I'm not judging you on that. What I am judging is that you think it's going to be so easier than some regular 9 to 5. It's not. And the fact that you probably can't, the fact that you're working a 9 to 5 probably means that your significant other doesn't have the funds, because in this economy, it's practical. It's more practical for somebody, 2 people in a relationship, to be working. But again, if that's the life you want, that's not what I'm judging. What I'm judging is, let's just stop acting like this is some easy get out of jail free card. It's not. You're still working a 9 to 5. You're just dealing with your family, and you think it's going to be easy because you're dealing with your family. But like, half of y'all don't even like y'all own parents because they get on y'all nerves. So the fact that you think it's going to be easier because you're dealing with your family, that probably makes it a little bit harder, because it's not always easy. But that's just me. If that's what you want, that's what you want. That's not the judgment. The judgment is, don't make it like it's some easy thing. It's not. I'd argue it's one of the hardest. And most certainly don't fix your mouth to sit here and be like, I hate that women fought so hard for our rights, especially as a Black woman, because your rights, our rights, are not at the forefront in the women's battle. Let's be for real. And with that, let's move into our TV review segment. And today we're talking about Smallville. Now, Smallville is a prequel to the story of Superman. It's how Clark Kent became the Man of Steel. And it aired on WB/the CW from 2001 to 2010. So, some might be wondering, okay, how'd you get into this show? Because 2001, you were a baby. You're absolutely right. And I caught the end of this show. Like, I caught season 9 and season 10, and somehow that stuck with me. And so when I got older and I was trying to find it everywhere, I couldn't find it anywhere. So what I had to do was rent the DVDs from the library, and that is how I ended up seeing the entire series. And then lo and behold, after I had finally finished the DVD version from the library, Hulu finally decided to put it on its streaming service. So thank you, Hulu. Anyway, let's get into it. So like I said, it is a prequel to how Clark Kent became Superman, how he became the Man of Steel. So as such, there are some things that they can't really say in here. Like, they can't really say he's Superman. Like Lana Lang, who is Clark Kent's love interest for like 7.5 seasons, she has a one-liner in season, like the first episode. She's like, so what are you, Clark, man or Superman? And that's kind of how they have to get away with it. Like they say, they could be like, hey, wow, man, you're super, or you're super, comma, man. Like they can't really say Superman, and they also can't really give him his cape or the ability to fly. So he doesn't get that until like season 10, like the series finale. We see him get the cape, but he can't really wear it, nor can he wear the suit until the series finale, and like the last 2 minutes of that. And then we don't see him fly until like the last episode. So there's some things that they can't do because it's about building up to that point. So it starts off with, we get a prequel to the prequel. We see Martha and Jonathan Kent, and we see how they're talking about how they want a baby, but they can't have a baby. Then we see the meteorites hit Smallville, and they get crashed into the cornfield, and they see a toddler Clark Kent, or Kal-El at the time, and he's stark naked, and I think he exhibits like things of like, we see he has strength that maybe a toddler should not have, and so they're like, okay, he's not normal. And for that reason, we don't want to do a normal version of adoption, because they do adopt him. And so they have Lionel Luthor help with a secret adoption. And they adopt Clark Kent. They name him Clark. So from there, we fast forward to like where he's 15 or 16. They graduated season 4, so I want to say like he's 15, 16 in the 9th grade. And we see he is helping Lana Lang, his love interest, pick up her books and stuff, and she has a necklace. Now the necklace has kryptonite in it. Now he doesn't really know, Clark doesn't really know why kryptonite is so harmful to him, because it doesn't really affect other people. Like the meteorite, as they call it, is really kryptonite, so it's harmful to Clark, but to other people, they might not be affected by it. Now there are some people who do get affected by it, and they get like powers from it. Like there's a bug man, but it's not like Spider-Man. Think more of the lizard guy from The Amazing Spider-Man, or somebody able to control water, or like somebody turning into like a Jaws kind of monster person and eating other people, that kind of stuff, right? So the series is basically, well, at least the first few seasons anyway, is basically Clark stopping the meteor infected people and kind of getting a new power each time, because we see him, he has to grow into his powers. So we see him get super speed, x-ray vision, super breath, as they call it, super hearing, all of that stuff. We see it in stages. So episode 1, he's helping Lana, and then Lana's douchey boyfriend at the time, who's a football captain, comes up and he's like, what are you doing around my girl? And later in the episode, her boyfriend and some of his friends, they strip Clark to his underwear and then put Lana's necklace, which has kryptonite in it, around Clark's neck so it weakens him, and then they tie him to a post. Now the person to get him down from this post is Lex Luthor. Earlier in the episode, Lex, who's like older than them, he's like a college dropout or either like a college graduate, he's driving recklessly and he hits Clark, and they go off a river and into some water, but it doesn't affect Clark because Man of Steel. So he saves Lex, and then they end up striking up a friendship. And that's kind of the episode. From there, like I said, we see Clark like stopping meteor infected people and growing into his powers and coming to terms with his powers, the fact that he's not a normal kid, right? So that's kind of the show. And then we get to like later seasons, they kind of go to college, then they drop out, and then they go to the workforce. For Clark, that's the Daily Planet, and it's just more reinforcing how he becomes the Man of Steel, but they don't say Man of Steel and they don't say Superman. They call him the Red Blue Blur, then they call him the Blur, and stuff like that. He doesn't get Superman until the end. So let's go into character analysis. Clark he's not a nerd, but like he's not cool either. Like he does join the football team and he becomes like the small town football hero, and he does do good deeds, and like he's quiet-ish. Like he has this group of friends, but he doesn't go out his way. But yet everybody knows and loves Clark. And so there's also this air of there's something different about you, Clark. So there's that. He's just a farm boy, the farm boy next door kind of guy. Lana Lang, who is his love interest, she goes from this sweet and innocent girl. She runs a coffee shop, and she occasionally lives above it with her friend Chloe and Chloe's cousin Lois Lane. And she goes from running a coffee shop to being all innocent and yada yada to going off to college and then doing drugs to see like a manifest of her dead parents. She gets involved with a sorority who is meteor infected, so they're weird. She gets possessed by a symbol Isis, which I don't think is the Egyptian goddess just yet, but she gets possessed by that. She also gets possessed by Lois and Chloe get possessed by some witches, and it's almost like a hocus pocus thing, but there's that. So she goes from this, oh, I'm shy, I'm quiet, I'm the damsel in distress, to there I can be more, and I'm going to be more. And she does end up being more. My ticket her, and real quick, my ticket Clark is that he holds on to people too long. He held on to Lana, he held on to Lex, he held on to Davis Bloom, who was Doomsday. He held on to them too long. So with Lana, my thing is, after she and Clark broke up, because they do break up, somehow, I don't even know the pipeline of how we got here, she ends up dating Lex Luthor. And like I said, he's much older than them, and like I don't know how we got there, but it's to the point where they end up almost getting married, and then she has to fake her death to get out of that. And it's just like, we were from point A to point B to like point F, and I don't know how we got there, but that was weird. And then they write her out in season 7 because the actress, her contract is up. She wanted to do other stuff. They do bring her back for a few episodes in season 8, which I hate, but I'll get to that. But then they write her out for good. Lex Luthor, you can see that he wants to be good. Like he's like all the villains that started off wanting to do great things, but the way he goes about it is morally corrupt. And so even with Clark, he noticed that Clark didn't get hurt when he hit him with his car, and so he's like, no, there's something about you. And so he's investigating Clark, and he's like low-key begs Clark to tell him his secret, and Clark never does. And so when he finally learns Clark's secret, he gets possessed by Zod, and they end up fighting in this Arctic cave that Clark goes to when he wants to talk to Jor-El, his Kryptonian father. And so they kind of write Lex out in season 7 too, because the actor's contract is up, and they bring him back in like the series finale, but it's a clone of him. And they also kind of keep his name alive. We don't see Lex, but they keep his name alive, because the way they write Lex off is that he just disappears. So is he dead? Is he not? We don't know. So that's Lex. Now Clark has 2 friends, Pete, who is really just a black friend. Now he had stuff to do, and I remember like liking him a bit, but like I don't really know much beyond that. He finds out Clark's secret, but then they write him off in like season 3 or season 4. I can't remember. So like, I'm not gonna say he wasn't interesting, but they don't do much with him. Like, he's just there. But I do remember liking him. His other friend, Chloe. Now, she is an investigator. She ran the school's newspaper, their high school's newspaper, and she would always investigate the weird stuff going around in Smallville, because meteor-infected people and strange things were happening. So she had it on her newspaper room, their wall, and she called it the Wall of Weirdness, and we could see she was investigating that kind of stuff. She later finds out Clark's secret, and from there we see them graduate high school. Can't remember if she went to college. I think she just started working at the Daily Planet, which is like her dream job, and then she quits like a season later, which is like, that was her dream job. Why? And then she starts working at ISIS, which is the Foundation for Meteor Infected People. That's something that Lana also started after college, and after she gets infected by it, she tries to turn it into something good. And so Chloe starts working here after Lana is gone. And then she becomes like Watchtower. She's basically Felicity Smoke before Felicity Smoke was Felicity Smoke in the live action anyway. And so she, in season 10, I remember them kind of writing her out a bit, which is weird because they wrote off everybody else. They wrote off Lex, they wrote off Pete, they wrote off Martha and Jonathan. So it was Chloe and Clark that made it from season 1 to season 10. And then season 10, they started writing her off and giving her, like, she was going to find other superheroes. That kind of became her job, to like help superheroes and become better superheroes and help them with their missions. And so I remember, like, why was her story so much bigger than Clark's? I remember asking myself that. And then I found out what the actress was up to, and I was like, maybe that's why. Which hurt my heart. I'm so disappointed, but I'm not gonna get into that. But that's Chloe, and she's an amazing hacker too. So that kind of goes along with her, her helping superheroes. She even worked for Oliver Queen. Speaking of Oliver Queen, he comes on the scene around like season 4-ish, season 5. And for me, after Lex, I would be so wary of billionaires, but he and Clark become fast friends, which I do enjoy. I like that they became friends. But if I were Clark, I would be so wary of billionaires. And he was just like, hey, sure, let's do it. Like, he found out Oliver's secret, that Oliver was Green Arrow. I don't know at what point Oliver found out Clark's secret, because even like in season 9 and season 10, he was still learning about his Kryptonian heritage. So, but they became fast friends, and Oliver dated Lois for a little while. And then he ended up dating Chloe, which I really liked. I did like them. I think I preferred them over Olicity and Arrow. The thing about it is that with Olicity, I was a hardcore Olicity shipper. And then when they finally happened, like most things in media, like I said last week, I was just over it. Whereas here, it was so random and yet so cute, but yet we didn't get a lot of moments of it that I never got really full of it, As far as who I prefer more as Oliver Queen, Justin Hartley or Stephen Amell, I can't really say, because Arrow is Oliver's story, and Oliver in Smallville is Clark featuring Oliver. So I think both do good in their respective roles, but I do prefer Oliver over Olicity. Lois Lane, she is my favorite Lois Lane. So she's an army brat, so she's moving around a lot. They introduced her in season 4 as Chloe's cousin. She enrolls in their high school for a little bit because she's like a year or 2 older than them, and then they kind of axe out that storyline. She is this kick butt. She can take charge. She's not a damsel in distress, and I just really like her. My thing about her is that, so in this universe, the end game was Lois and Clark, right? And we don't see that until like maybe season 7 and definitely season 8 on Lois' side. We don't see Clark really falling for Lois until like a little into season 8. And then they bring in Lana for those 3 episodes. And in this episode that they bring her in, Clark and Lois are sharing a dance. They're getting intimate. They're about to kiss. And then Lana comes in, and Clark, he looks at Lana, and Lois is like, let me step back because that's first love. I will never compete with that. And it's just like, now maybe they didn't know they were getting 10 seasons, but it's like, hey, come on guys, let's move it along. We trying to get Lois and Clark. Lana and Clark is so, I'm done with it. I am done with it. Lois and Clark, me please. And then they were really cute, and they did have innuendos that were really cute and flirty, and it was just like, take it there. Don't give me these innuendos. Take it there. So they were really cute, and she's like one of my favorite Lois Lanes. That's pretty much it in characters. I would give this a 9 out of 10, and I stand 10 toes down on what I'm about to say. Smallville walks, so all these other superhero shows on the CW, Arrow, Flash, all of that could run. Because a lot of people like to criticize Smallville for its CGI and its doomsday and all of that stuff, but no, Smallville walks, so all those other superhero shows on the CW could run, and I stand by that, and I give it a 9 out of 10. So with that, before we get into our next segment, let's take a break here to send it over to our promoters so they can let you know where to find us. Like what you're hearing?
Follow us for more.
We're on Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, and YouTube.
And don't forget to share, like, and comment.
Woo!
Woo! You know you love us.
Thanks, promoters. Now, let's get into our next segment, Childhood Reviews. Is it still good? And today, because I promised you guys we will be talking about a very popular YA novel/movie that came out in November. And then it occurred to me later that some people might think I was talking about Twilight, because I think Twilight also came out around November. But no, I'm not talking about Twilight. I'm talking about da 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 da. That's right, guys. The Hunger Games. I can't whistle, so you're gonna have to just go with my humming, okay? But yes, we're talking about The Hunger Games, and I'm gonna give you guys a very brief description of it, but just know that it's one of my favorite YA dystopians. So it's set in like a post-war kind of United States. It's divided into 12 districts. Used to be 13, but now it's 12, or so you think. And each district has a certain thing as to how they help move the country along. So District 13 was military. District 12 is coal miners. District 11, I want to say, is like electricity, or were they farming? I don't know. It was majority black, and I don't want to say cotton, but it seemed like they were doing some farming. But and so it goes just like that, you know. Each district has. Now, then there's the capital, and the capital, they're this people who live in the capital, and President Snow, who's the leader. They are so out of touch, so they have no sympathy, or they just don't care, and so they watch each district sacrifice 2 people in this very Rome gladiator kind of style to fight to the death in this arena until one person is standing, and they watch this for their own entertainment. So they're rich and they don't have to send their children to the Hunger Games, so they don't care. They watch this kind of stuff as entertainment. So each district sends 1 boy and 1 girl in the hopes that only one comes back to be their victor. And the victor brings pride to their district, pride to their family. Their family gets to move into Victor's village, which is far better off than where and how they're living before. And they get money, and they don't have to fight in the Hunger Games again. They do have to mentor the next group of people that go into the Hunger Games for their district, which is how Haymitch, who ends up being Katniss and Peeta's mentor, that's how that happens. So districts 1 through 4, I believe, are like the favorite districts. They're called the careers, and they're the closest to the capital, and so they get the best treatment and how they train and how they live and how they win the Hunger Games, how they get sponsors. Now, sponsors is what keep you, they are what give you survival things in the Hunger Games. So food, water, blanket, matches for a fire, all of that. Because when you go into the Hunger Games, you go in with nothing. Now, they do offer you weapons based on your specific ability. Now, Katniss, who is our main protagonist, she is she's good with the bow. So there's like a bow there, and so each person who, you know, whatever their strength is, that's what's there. However, it's not like you can just grab it and go, right? Like once you get into the arena, you fight to get it, and then you fight to go, right? So she doesn't really get her bow until later. But anyway, so how it starts off is that Katniss, and for this, there will be interchangeable discourse between the books and the films. So Katniss volunteers to go into the Hunger Games for her younger sister, Prim, because Prim is young. She's like 12, and Katniss, it's a death sentence. And so Katniss is like, nope, my sister doesn't know anything like that. If either of us had a chance, it has to be me, and I'm not gonna let her go. So she asks her best friend Gale to promise to look after her family, and he does. So Katniss goes into the Hunger Game. That's the girl from District 12. The boy from District 12 is Peeta Mellark. Now, Peeta has always had a crush on Katniss, and so he kind of makes it his mission, unbeknown to Katniss, to keep her alive also. He knows that she has family that she looks out for. So her father is long since dead, and her mother kind of checked out mentally. So real quick, because I don't ever know if they mention her mother's name, but since Katniss is a plant and Primrose is a flower, I'm gonna name her mama Lily. Her mama looks like a lily or daisy. but I'm gonna say Lily. So when I say Lily, I'm referring to Katniss and Prim's mother. Anyway, so Lily checked out kind of mentally, and Prim is young, and so Katniss is like the provider. So they go into the Hunger Games. They take you to the Capitol and they kind of show you off to the people, right? So when they first get into the Capitol, we see that Peter is already charming and charismatic. He's waving to the people, and that's kind of how you get sponsors in the first place. You be charming and whatnot. Now Katniss is very much like, I'm not like other girls. And I don't know if you want to hate on her for that, because she really is not like other girls. Like, she can't have time to worry about boys and whatnot because she's feeding her family. She's fighting and worrying about where her next meal comes from. So she very much is not like other girls, but I don't know if it's in a toxic kind of way. Anyway, so Haymitch is like, you better learn from him. You better keep this knife and stuff, because if you ain't charming like Peter, you better be strong with some weapons. You better fight. So another notable name is Effie Trinket. Now, Effie, I don't really know her official title, but she's a person that comes down from the Capitol and kind of like, she puts her hand in a bowl that has everybody who's eligible for the Hunger Games. She picks one and she calls out. So that's her thing. But she kind of stays with Peter and Katniss. So we get to the Capitol. They start primping Peter and Katniss. Katniss' stylist, Senna, is so impressed with Katniss and her bravery for like sacrificing herself to save her sister. So he's like, I'm not here to, make you look pretty. I'm here to help you make an impression so that you can get sponsors, right? So he kind of, each district, they dress like their districts. Each tribute dresses like their district's assigned work. So District 12, they're always coal miners. But they changed it up this year. They put Peter and Katniss in this outfit that's all black, and then it kind of sparks fire in the back. And it's not real fire, but it sparks fire. And so this leads to the nickname, the Girl on Fire. And when she gets to her final interview, and to kind of help her be more charismatic, Senna has a dress made for her, and the tail of the dress, when she spins, it spits fire, and so it kind of just helps her be more charismatic and likable. Now with Peter, he's already charismatic and likable, and so he's just talking it up with Caesar Flickerman, who is the interviewer. And so he's like, well, I've always liked this one girl. They get to talking about if he had a girl back home. And so he's like, I've always liked this one girl, but she didn't notice me until now. And it doesn't matter now because she came here with me. And everybody's like, oh, okay, star-crossed lovers. Let's see where this is going. And so Katniss, who does not know how to handle that attention, she's 16. They're both 16. And she's not like other girls. She doesn't really notice that kind of stuff. She attacks Peter when they get backstage. She's like, you made me look weak. And Haymitch is like, no, he made you look desirable. I can sell the star-crossed lovers from District 12. And so in the books, something that they do in the books that they don't do in the movies, Peter's a lot more snarky than he is in the books than he is in the movies. Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody was casted great. I cannot see anybody else playing Peter other than Josh Hutcherson. And I honestly can't see anyone else playing Katniss because Jennifer Lawrence did a great job. I will say this. Maybe next time around, make Katniss native. I'm just saying, like, I remember she had like olive or darker skin and some of that kind of stuff. So just throwing that out there. Anyway, in the book, he's like, well, I didn't say you had to like me. I just said I liked you. I ain't say nothing about you. I didn't expect, like, the way he snapped at her is like, snarky Peter, okay. And they kind of take that out of the movies a lot. Anyway, later that night, we see Katniss and Peter have a moment, and she's saying sorry. He's like, I meant that as a compliment. And then they start talking about how he doesn't want to be a piece in the Capitol's game. Like, if he has to die, he wants his death to mean something, right? Then they get to the arena and they separate, and Peter starts working with the careers. Now, the careers, like I said, are the favorite ones, and it's not unusual for people to link up with them in hopes that their survival, it's not unusual. But it is unusual for Peter because Katniss is like, didn't this dude say he liked me and now he working with the people trying to kill me? But it all works out because Peter ends up helping Katniss get away from the careers, and this angers Cato, who is the main career. He slashes a giant gash in Peter's leg and leaves him for dead. And so Katniss links up with Rue, who is a black girl from District 12. She's not District 12, from District 11. She's 12, and she also reminds Katniss of her sister Prim. And so she tries to protect Rue. And when she goes to she separates herself from Rue to go blow up the career's food, and that leaves her partially deaf, which is something that they do in the books that they don't do in the movies that people were upset about. The gash in Peter's leg was so terrible that they couldn't do anything, that they gave him a prosthetic leg in the book. They don't do that in the movie. And I think in the book, when she blows up the career's food, it takes out, she either ends up being partially or totally deaf in her left ear. I think it's partially, and I don't think they really do that in the movie. Anyway, this here is when when Rue dies, which angers people in District 11, and they start rioting. But it also angered people in real life because of the black girl dying to further along a white girl's cause. So we see Katniss lose hope, and then the game makers are like, hey, 2 people from the same district can win the games. So Katniss finds Peeta. In the book, they link up in a cave, and they have some moments, and in the movie they kind of do too, but it's not as much as it is in the cave as it is in the book. I like the cave scene in the book, but I think it works, what they do in the movie works as well. I will say there's this one thing where Katniss is washing Peeta's clothes to help make sure he doesn't get an infection on his leg, and so he's like, hey Katniss, come here. And she's like, huh? And he's like, yo, we madly in love, so feel free to kiss me anytime. And it just shows his playfulness and his, it's funny. But they don't do that in the movie. So it comes down to Katniss and Peeta and Cato. They beat Cato, and then the game maker is like, psych! No, you guys have to fight it out. So let's see how these star-crossed lovers are going to do it. And Katniss, who is starting to feel Peeta, is like, I don't want to kill this guy, nor do I want to be a piece in their game. And so they take some poison berries, and they're about to kill themselves when the game maker is like, whoa, wait, stop, okay, you guys got me. The winners of the 74th annual Hunger Games, Katniss and Peeta. And so when they come back, something that they do in the books that they don't do in the movies, when they crown Peeta and Katniss in the books, they take the crown, they split it in half, and they give one half to Katniss, one half to Peeta. In the movie, they just give it to Katniss, which I guess centers Katniss, but it's like, I kind of wish that they split it. Then they come home, and Peeta's like, what now? And Katniss is like, I guess we try to forget, and Peeta's like, I don't want to forget. And that's kind of movie 1, book 1. Movie 2, book 2, Catching Fire. People like to say this is the best movie. I like them all, but I will say, in the Hunger Games, they're 16, okay? So they're supposed to look young, but to me, they look a little too young. And then in Catching Fire and so on, they look a little, I think it's better. And I especially like Peeta's hair. The color that they went with, and then the style that they went with, was definitely the best styling of Peeta's hair. So we get to Catching Fire, and Katniss is back, and she's hunting with Gale. I don't know why Gale thought it would be a good idea. I don't know why Katniss thought it would be a good idea to go hunting after getting out of the Hunger Games, but they're hunting turkeys. They kill a turkey, but Katniss has PTSD, so when she shoots and kills it, she sees Marble, who is the person who killed Rue in the first Hunger Games, and her first kill is Katniss's first kill. So she starts hyperventilating, and Gale has to bring her back down. We also see Gale is upset with Katniss because of the star-crossed lover thing. He likes Katniss. Katniss kind of likes him. And so she's like, Gale, it was an act. And Gale is like, it seemed pretty real to me. And it's so funny to me because I was like, Gale, let me tell you when it starts getting real. It don't start to get real until Katniss starts hyperventilating after Peeta gets electrocuted in the Quarter Quell. That's when you have to start worrying. Before that, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But after that, anyway, she's like, yo, it was just an act. And then they share a kiss, and he's like, I have to do that at least once since you're pretending to be in this relationship with everybody else. And in the books, they don't really do it in the movies, but in the books, they spin it that Gale is Katniss's cousin, and that's why she spends so much time with him. In the movie, they don't really do that, but she does have to limit her time with him. So she gets back home, and she lives in Victor's Village. She, Peeta, and Haymitch, they all live in Victor's Village along with Katniss's family. And President Snow is there, and he's like, yeah, the capital people were fooled with your besotted schoolgirl thing, but the people in the district saw that as an act of rebellion. So if you don't want me to kill you, your family, and start a war, you know what? You need to convince these people that it was just you're in love with this boy. And you know what? Don't even convince them. Convince me. And so they go, Katniss, Peeta, and Haymitch and Effie go on Peeta and Katniss's victory lap, which is a tour around the country starting from 12 all the way up to the capital. And in each district, they talk to the district people, and they talk to the families of the dead ones, right? So they have a moment in District 12 and District 11 where it's really painful for Katniss, and so she goes off script, and that puts them in danger. And so Haymitch is like, "Yo, we gotta play the game, okay?" So they try to play up that besotted star-crossed we're in love thing, and it leads to Katniss and Peeta ended up married, getting engaged, right? And this is the only fake dating trope that I'll go with, which sucks because the way they were forced into it. But it ends up with them having a fake marriage proposal, but none of that matters because when they get to the Capitol, President Snow is like, nope, didn't convince people, still rioting. And so, something that also happens when they get to the Capitol, Katniss meets the new game maker, which is Plutarch Havensby. And so I'm best known to Katniss. He's actually working for District 13. Now, yeah, we thought District 13 was gone, but no, it is not. And so we don't get to there yet. So they get back home, and Katniss is talking about running away. She tells Gale. Gale is like, no, we need to stay and fight. And that's my problem with Gale. I don't like Gale. A lot of people ship Katniss and Gale. I'm a hardcore Peeta and Katniss shipper, but a lot of people ship Katniss and Gale, and it's like, why? Gale is she telling his boy, I got PTSD. I don't want to be in a war. I don't want people looking to me. I am a 17-year-old girl. I don't want this. And he's basically calling her a coward. He's like, no, we need to stay. We need to fight. You do what you want, but I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight. Like, bro. And then I'm about to go into the Hunger Games again. And so you talking about staying. Like, bro. And so they separate. Gale sees somebody getting whipped by a peacemaker, and so he gets involved. He knocks over the peacemaker, which then leads the peacemaker to whipping him. This leads Katniss to running in, and Peeta, and then Haymitch. And so he's like, yo, you don't want to mess up. This is the Capitol's darling, and you don't want to mess up her face on the eve of the big wedding. Let it go, and we will too. And so they get Gale back to Katniss. Now, Prem and Lily are healers. She's studying to be healers, and so Prem is helping Lily with helping Gale, giving him medication and making him snow coats, which is just really ice pack but with snow. And so we see Peeta see Katniss fawning all over Gale, and we see how hurt he is by it, but he's like, I know she has feelings for him. I know we were all forced into this, so I just gotta deal. And it's like, for me, the way I would just be so over Katniss, I ain't even gonna lie, because I will say this, Peeta was upset with Katniss in the start of Catching Fire because he realized that it was fake, and he likes her. She didn't like him as much, but she is starting to feel him. So there's one scene where they were about to go, it was the interview before they went on their victory lap, and so they're talking to Caesar Flickerman. So they meet outside of their homes, and they fall in some snow, and the book is due to Peeta's prosthetic leg. In the movie, they just fall on some snow. And so they have a kiss, and then they get up and then they do the interview, and when cameras are down, Peeta's like, nice acting, almost like that kiss was real. And I remember joking with some people. I was like, you know what, I made that scene is he was like, nice acting, almost like that kiss was real, and then shoulder bumped her and walked away. Boy, but that's just the dramatic in me. That's just the dramatist in me, because like, as I'm older, it's like he did have a right to be upset with her because he likes her and she played with his emotions, but also it's like she kept y'all alive, which is something he later admits. He was like, you kept us alive. If you can stop looking at me like I'm wounded, then I can stop acting like it and we can be friends. So anyway, he sees her moping over Gale, and it hurts him, but he just goes about what he needs to do, right? And then this leads President Snow to be like, they're too much trouble, so we can't just execute her. We got to get rid of all of the victors. So Quarter Quells happen like every 75 years or something. It's not just like the Hunger Games, it's special Hunger Games. And for this Hunger Games, all the other victors are being placed into the Hunger Games. And so Effie, I really like her character development because she was once like the other Capitol people. She didn't care. And then as she gets to know Katniss and Peeta, and she's like, I don't want to do this. These people, y'all don't deserve this. And so when she goes to call out the names, she calls out Katniss, and then she goes to call out Hey Mitch. Now, the previous night, when they learned that they were going to be reaped, Peeta immediately went to Haymitch and was like, yo, we gotta save Katniss. Katniss went to the woods and cried for about an hour and then thought, oh my God, Peeta. And then came to Haymitch and was like, you gotta save him. You have to volunteer for him if he, if his name gets called. And Haymitch is so real for this line. He was like, you could live 100 lifetimes and never deserve that, boy. Haymitch is so real for that one. Because really, but anyway, so they get to the calling. Effie calls Katniss's name, and then she calls. You can see the relief on her face. She's like, "Hey, Mitch Abernathy." But then Peeta's like, "Nope, I volunteer as tribute." And Haymitch is like, "I can't let you do that." And Peeta's like, "You can't stop me. Let go." And that's that snarky, tough Peeta that's in the books. That isn't a lot in the movies, but like he's still there. And I was like, "Yes, be that snarky Peeta. Be that take charge." Like, and so something that they do in the books that they don't do in the movies is that Peeta in the books is all about training. He's like, yo, we gotta train. We're facing other victors. Let's get it. In the movies, they don't really show him doing that much. We get introduced to some of the other victors. The important ones are Mags, Finnick, Joanna, Beetee, Wiress, the Morphlings, and that's pretty much it. There are a few others, but that's pretty much it. And so they all kind of try to make Katniss uncomfortable a little bit because she's the Capitol darling. But in the books, they try to make her uncomfortable because they know they know being intimate makes her uncomfortable. So like Joanna getting naked in the elevator is really due to Katniss not really liking nudeness, and so that kind of stuff. And so we get to the final interview. We get to seeing the tributes do their lap around the Capitol. And so on par with the Girl on Fire, they have a new suit that the entire thing lights on fire. And so that's the Girl on Fire, the Boy on Fire, but they really call him, what do they call Peeta? The baker's boy or the boy with the bread? I don't know. Anyway, final interview, and Joanna, her answer is so real for this. She was basically like, I'm getting totally screwed over. Y'all told me if I win the Hunger Games, I get to live the rest of my life in peace, and now you trying to kill me again? Forget y'all. Forget anybody who had anything to do with this. I hate y'all. And Caesar Flickerman is like, one woman's opinion. And I'm just like, no. Everybody was they were being low-key and suave about it, but Joanna came out and was like, nah, forget y'all. So we get to Finnick, and Finnick, he is being pimped out by President Snow. Like, he's so attractive, and so if a Capitol person wants him sexually, they get him. And to make him feel better, they pay him. So he's a prostitute, but they don't pay him with money or jewels. They pay him with secrets, which is important. And so we see Beetee and Wiress, they're the smart ones. We see Finnick, he's good in water. Joanna, she's good with the axe. Who else? Mags volunteered. She was Finnick's mentor, and he cares about her deeply, and she volunteered for Annie Cresta. Now Annie Cresta is really who Finnick loves, and she kind of went mad after her Hunger Games, and so Mags volunteers to save her and keep Finnick from worrying. And so when we get to the Hunger Games, everything is different. This time, the arena is shaped like a clock. There's a new threat every hour. So there are killer monkeys, there's a tidal wave, there's blood rain within each section. So one section may be 1 o'clock, and at 1 o'clock, blood rain. One section may be 2 o'clock, and at 2 o'clock, killer monkeys, right? So it ends up with Katniss and Peeta, who originally wanted to be in there by themselves. They link up with Finnick and Mags, who then link up with Joanna and Wiress and Beetee. And then it ends up being kind of them. They get to like the end where it's just like 2 or 3 careers left and them, and Katniss and Peeta is talking about how she doesn't want to kill any of them and she wants to run, and Peeta's like, we should stay with them for a little while longer and then we'll run. And they have a cute little moment, and he's like, no one needs me, everyone needs you. And it's here Katniss realized, well, in the book she flat out says everybody would eventually get over his death, but I would be the one I would be the one messed up about it. And so she's like, no, I need you, I need you. And they have a kiss and it's all romantic, and then Joanna breaks it up. And so the final plan is it's this wire that Beetie's been working on, and it's electric. And so lightning strikes a big tree at 12. So Katniss is going to shoot this wire into the tree at 12 so that when it hits, it electrifies everybody near the damp sand on the beach. And so it would have worked, but somehow the careers ambush them. Katniss and Peeta get separated. Joanna goes with Katniss, and she ends up knocking Katniss out to take out Katniss's tracker. Peeta gets separated. We don't see what happens to him. We see Beetee gets electrocuted by the tree. Katniss is about to shoot Finnick with the arrow, but Finnick is like, remember who the real enemy is. And so Katniss takes the arrow, she shoots it up at the arena, and it takes out the whole arena. Then Katniss has this vision where she finally gets to die, because Katniss has a death wish. She just wants to die. And then she wakes up and she's on a plane, and hey Mitch, Beetee, but Beetee is still unconscious laying beside her. Finnick and Plutarch are on this plane, and Katniss is like, hey Mitch, what are you doing with these people? Where's Peeta? You lied to me. I told you to save him. You didn't save him. And so they knock her out again, and she wakes up in District 13 where Gil is like, there is no more District 12. They bombed everything, but I got your family out. I got a lot of people out. That's Catching Fire. Something I do want to say in Catching Fire about Effie, though, again, we see her really care for them. I like her character build up, because Peeta is like, during the final interview, Peeta is like, oh yeah, me and Katniss got married and we would have no regrets if not for the baby. Peeta is so cold with the lies, so on the tip of his toes with the lies. But anyway, so obviously she's in on their little schemes, because she knows Katniss isn't pregnant. She knows they're not really feeling each other like that right now, like star-crossed lovers. And so she's like, I am so sorry, you two deserve so much better. And she's like, I'm gonna get you guys each a gold bangle, because Katniss has her gold Mockingjay, because that's the symbol of Katniss. In the book, she gets this Mockingjay pin from a friend, but in the movie, she gets it at the local store, and then she gives it to Prim as a good luck charm, and then Prim gives it back to her, and it ends up being her symbol as the Mockingjay. Mockingjays are this genetic bird that the Capitol created, I'm thinking. And so in the first Hunger Games, she and Rue are talking, and Rue's like, we use Mockingjays to symbolize. So that's where the da 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 comes from. And so when people do that sound and they do the 3-finger salute, that's saluting Katniss and the Mockingjay. And so Katniss has her Mockingjay. She gave Peeta a gold medallion that they were talking about. She gave Haymitch a gold bangle. And then Effie, has her gold hair. And so it's like, we're a team. So we see Effie, she rolling with them. We roll with Effie because Effie rolling with us. Anyway, that's Catching Fire. Then we get to Mockingjay, which is the last book, and then 2 movies. So Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2. We see Katniss in the hospital. She's kind of freaking out. She's playing with the little pearl Peeta gave her in the quarter quo. And then she hears crying, and she goes next door and she sees Finnick in the hospital, and he's like, I wanted to go back for Joanna and Peeta, because Joanna and Peeta and Annie are now the Capitol's prisoners. And he's like, I wanted to go back for them, but I couldn't move, and I wish they were dead, and we were all too. So we see he kind of losing it too. And then we meet President Alma Coin, who's basically the female version of President Snow. And she's like, we need you to be the Mockingjay. We need you. The districts need hope. We're about to go into a war, and we need you. And Katniss is like, hell no. You should have saved Peeta. And so it's a fight to get her to join. They bring Effie on, because somehow they found Effie. Now in the books they write Effie out and don't bring her back until like the very end of Mockingjay, but in the movies they keep her in, and I'm so glad they keep her in, because I do like her character development, her character arc. I like it, and I like Effie. And so Plutarch gets Effie. He's like, yo, we need you to help the Mockingjay be the Mockingjay. We need you to light that fire and the girl on fire again. And then they bring in Hey Mitch. They had him 15 floors down, sobering up, because he can't be a drunk on, down here. So they bring them in, and she's so pissed off at Hey Mitch, but they coax her into becoming the Mockingjay. Senna, he died in Catching Fire, but because, well, he died in Catching Fire. He made a dress for Katniss, which was supposed to be her wedding dress, but when she turned and started doing her turning, the dress burned up and turned into a Mockingjay, and so that signaled Senna's death. But he did create a Mockingjay suit, which was armor for Katniss. So they get her to be the Mockingjay. She's talking to people, and then we see Peeta. She assumed Peeta was dead. She sees Peeta, and Peeta comes on the screen. She's like, oh my God, you're alive. But he's talking about, hey, y'all, we need to do a ceasefire. And so people in District 13 are like, hey, he's a coward. And Gale ends up defending him. And then we see him again a little later, and he's more beat up. And he's like, ceasefire, ceasefire. But he's more beat up this time. So you can see he's being tortured. And so Gale basically calls him a coward, which angered me so bad, because he was like, I don't care. I would never say what he said, now with a gun to my head, yada, yada, yada. You have no idea what they're doing to him in the Capitol. Each time we see him, he looks worse. He went to the Hunger Games twice. Like, boy, this is why I don't like Gale. Anyway, they finally set up a mission to, the third time we see Peeta, he basically warns them that they're coming and they need to hide. So the Capitol starts bombing District 13, but because District 13 has been underground for years, they can take it. So they go down to a bunker. And so they finally decide to get Peeta and Joanna and Annie out. So they come up with a mission to get them out. And the reason Peeta ended up warning Katniss and people in District 13 was because Katniss has been shooting propaganda little clips where she's showing what they're doing to other districts. And so they show that everywhere, including the Capitol, courtesy of Beatty, who was like, he's tech savvy. And so Peeta finally sees it, and he's like, oh, well, let me warn these people. So they finally get him out. The gas that they used to knock out the guards knocked him out too. So we see Joanna. Now in the books, they cut her hair, and because she's so afraid of water, she can't even hardly bathe anymore, because they were electrocuting her. Annie is already mad. They've been beating Peeta. So in the movie, Joanna does not have her hair anymore. Annie sees Finnick, and they go crazy with love for each other. Katniss is looking for Peeta. When she finally finds Peeta, she's like, oh my God, you're okay. And then Peeta, the way he choke slams her out, whew. Now they brainwashed Peeta. They call it a hijacking, but basically they brainwashed him and gave him false memories of Katniss. So he broke her windpipe. So when she sees him again, he's going crazy, talking about, she's a mutt, we have to kill her. So that leads into movie 2, where they're trying to unbrainwash Peeta. And so they do some talking and some medication with him. Finnick is really the one that hey, we're good. Come on, we got this. You just have to think. Just talk it out. Just ask us, okay? And so they end up going on a mission to kill President Snow. So they make their way to the Capitol. There are a lot of booby traps. Some set Peeta off. Some kills a lot of their team members. So Boggs, who was like a general in District 13 who respected Katniss and was trying to help Katniss, he ends up dying. Some of the camera crew ends up dying. Finnick, who I will stand 10 toes down that his death was so unnecessary, ends up dying. Then we get to the Capitol. Prim ends up dying. And they eventually end up taking President Snow, and President Snow is like, come on, Katniss, and we both know I'm not above killing children, but we both know I'm not wasteful. What would I need to kill a whole bunch of Capitol children for? Because Prim was working as a doctor. They're training her to be a doctor in District 13, and so she was in the Capitol helping the Capitol children and other people, and they ended up bombing that, but it ended up being District 13 bombs, President Coin's bombs. And so she's upset with Gale because Gale was the one who created the bombs, even though she was like, you're so heartless, you don't need to be doing this kind of stuff. Anyway, So when it comes down to it, they're about to execute President Snow. She ends up executing Coin, and then the people take out President Snow. And then they put Katniss in jail. Then they send her home with Haymitch. They send Peeta a little later, and we see him planting primroses in honor of Prim. Another thing I want to note, when we see Effie and Haymitch get back together in District 13, he's like, Effie, I like you better without all that makeup. She's like, I like you better sober. And the look that they share, it was no surprise to me when they kissed in the second Mockingjay. And then we see Katniss and Peeta coming together. He's like, you love me, real or not? She says real. And then we get an epilogue with their children, and that's The Hunger Games. I would give this a 9 out of 10. It is one of my favorite YAs. There are some things that I wish they stuck closer to the book, and some things that I think work without the book. But it's a 9 out of 10 for me. I love this trilogy. I love this series of movies. And with that, let's get into our last segment of the day. It's time for What's in the Headlines, where we rave and review celebrity news and gossip. And today we're talking about Bad Baby and a filter that she used on Instagram, I think. We're talking about the 2023 Grammy nominations and if Trump is going to run for president again. Let's start with Bad Baby. Now, she really kind of got famous for that Dr. Phil episode and saying the phrase "catch me outside." How about that? And when she got on that show, to me, and please don't take this as disrespect, but to me it came off very much white trash. I think a lot of people want to say that was AAVE appropriation, which it might have been, but to me it was white trash. And then she kind of got famous as like a rapper or something. I don't know, but from there we could see her darkening up. And now the filter that she used, I'll try to remember, maybe try to put a picture up so that you guys can see, but she was very pasty white on Dr. Phil to not so pasty but still very white skinned on after that to dark, like she's blackfishing now. And a lot of people will say, oh, it was just a filter. One, why is that filter in existence? Two, why does she feel so comfortable using it? And the filter in question, it darkened up her skin a lot. It gave her like really big lips and other black/POC features, right? And it's like, y'all want to be black until it's time to be black. And ain't this the same girl who was like, who wants to be black? Did she go on that live talking about who wants to be black? Because I guess she was talking about how the oppression of black people, so she was like, who wants to be black? And then was talking about, how can you act a color? You can't act black. Y'all want to be black till it's time to be black so bad. The appropriation of AAVE, of the culture, of the aesthetics, of like the features, making your lips big, darkening up your skin. A lot of people say, oh, she's Italian. Y'all know Italians can be dark skinned too, but she is not a dark skinned Italian. Y'all want to be black until it's time to be black. I don't care if it's a filter. I don't know if it's like a tan or whatnot. Why are you who wants to be black, remember? And yet this is the stuff that you're doing. Because when people say that's Bad Baby, and I'm like, what you talking about? The girl from Dr. Phil? That's not her. Like, boy, y'all want to be black till it's time to be black so bad. And like, we as people, as a black people, have to stop giving these people platforms in our community. And we talked about this in our appropriating rant, but like, y'all want to be black till it's time to be black so bad. Stop. And you know what's really funny is because they get so mad when we tell them to stop doing this, and this is their response, and this is how y'all sound when y'all say this response. Yeah, well, yeah, if we can't say these kind of things, and if we can't talk like this, yeah, then you guys can't wear straight hair. Yeah, yeah, that's how y'all sound. Which one? This is like Brazilian. This is not some stringy, lice-filled hair. Don't nobody want your stringy, lice-filled hair, okay? Malaysian, Brazilian, like no one is coming for your hair. And as of 2021 anyway, if you look up unprofessional hairstyles, what you'll find is black hair. So a lot of people are straightening their hair and wearing straight wigs and stuff to assimilate so that they can thrive in a society that does not want them to thrive in. So that's what, ask yourself why that is, as opposed to sit here and be like, well, y'all can't wear straight, because don't nobody want your hair. Be for real. And with that, let's move into our next topic, which is the 2023 Grammy nominations. Now, to name a few, there's Easy on Me by Adele, Break My Soul, this is Record of the Year, Break My Soul by Beyonce, Woman by Doja Cat, Harry Styles, As It Was, Lizzo, About Damn Time, Album of the Year, Adele, 30, Beyonce, Renaissance, Coldplay, Music of the Spheres, Harry Styles, Harry's House, Song of the Year, Easy on Me, Adele, Beyonce, Break My Soul, Lizzo, About Damn Time, Harry Styles, As It Was, Best New Artist, Anita, Lotto, Wet Leg, Best Pop Solo Performance, Easy on Me, Adele, Doja Cat, Woman, Lizzo, About Damn Time, and others, including Viola Davis being nominated for a Grammy for her audiobook, Finding Me. Now, if she wins this Grammy, she will have an EGOT, an Emmy, a Tony, an Oscar, and a Grammy. And we are all about Black people winning EGOTs, so good luck to you. Good luck to all the nominees. I even think Beyonce she's breaking records for having the most nominations in something. So good luck to everybody who is nominated. For me, where I'm at, I'm rooting for everybody Black. I'm sorry. A lot of people are sitting here and being like, it's between Adele and Beyonce. I'm sure even Adele will be like, no, it's not. So congratulations to everybody. And I'm especially rooting for that EGOT for Viola Davis. Congratulations. Oh, and now let's get into our last topic, which is Trump announcing that he will do a third run for the presidency. People, please do not vote the person who cited an insurrection and got indicted on some stuff for other things. Like, please do not. Do not. I can't tell you how to vote, but all I can say is the person inciting an insurrection to people running up on the Capitol with guns and whatnot and mace and all this stuff, is that the kind of law and order that he was talking about? Is that the Make America Great Again that he was talking about? Look, and you know what's really funny is that Biden is soon, I don't know if it's soon, but he dropped his announcement, and the official Twitter for Biden dropped the President Trump Has Failed Us video that shows clips of his worst moments in office. And it's like, that's really funny. And why did you have that ready to go? You had that in the draft since January 6th, didn't you? But honestly, politics should not be, I mean, it's a messy business, but it shouldn't be this kind of messy, this kind of drama filled and messy. But like, I can't tell you guys how to vote, but just think about it, what it means if that man gets back in office. Just think about that. But with that, that's what's in the headlines, and that's the show. Thanks for listening and watching. If you like our content, be sure to like our content. Leave a subscription, a follow, a comment, a subscription and a follow. A comment, be respectful in the comments, but anything that you like to see more of, or anything you agree or even disagree with me, in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. We can even give you a shout out now. Engage not just here, but on our other socials and whatnot. It helps us out so much, and we really appreciate it. Thanks for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.